All right, everyone. How are we doing today? Are you guys excited about today's event? You guys ready for what we have for you all today? How are you all doing? It is now time to turn on your cameras and get started today with our talk, our global talk, a very, very special one, as we are having a guest that's coming from literally the other side of the world, everyone. You guys excited about this talk? Yes? All right, everyone. Amazing. She is having some connection issues at the time, so we'll wait just a few more minutes as she finishes up connecting. But before we actually get into the global talk and every single thing we have for you today, I'd love to let you guys speak for a second. Let us know how has your experience been so far at the Global MUN, whether you've liked it, what has been your favorite global talk, just quick little things that we can truly get to talk about. So I don't know if maybe I see Anna, you've got your camera on. You want to talk a little bit about that? How has your experience been so far?
Hi, sorry, I've just joined and I don't know exactly what you're talking about.
Sure. We have Ana Fred and I think we have Ana Scala. So how about if we go for Ana Fred?
Yes, sure. Well, I have enjoyed it a lot, and I think it has been like really good to connect to all the global talks because you can learn about the different like crises or the different committees, not just like your situation or the one that you're like researching for the debate. So I think that's giving you like a lot of new information that like in my case I didn't know about. So it has been like really interesting and I have learned quite a lot during the weeks.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your comment, Anna. I see Sakina has joined now. Internet connection issues are over. Sakina, how are you doing?
Hello, everyone. I'm fine. Thank you for asking.
Thank you actually for being here. So, ladies and gentlemen, quick announcement for every single one of you. Remember, tomorrow we're launching the International Challenge blog posts. They will go up tomorrow in the morning. So make sure to check the Slack All General channel for that. Go like those posts, share them around. Let's get as many donations as we can for Ukraine. But furthermore, let's get started with today's talk as we introduce Sakina. Sakina, the room is yours. The microphone is yours. Thank you so much for being today with us.
Thank you so much. So I need to share my room. Share my screen, sorry.
You should have permission right now.
Yes, let me see. Can you guys see the Canva page?
There we go. We can see your screen now.
Okay. Oops. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about Afghan crisis. My name is Sakina Saidi, and I'm currently studying BBA, Business at American University of Afghanistan, and I'm a refugee in Pakistan myself. So besides the difficult part, I was also known as the happy after the Inside Out animation was released, and like among my friends. And also, before I begin my speech, I want to say that I really like to be interrupted. So go ahead, mute yourselves, and shoot anything that comes into your mind. So Afghan crisis is like I'm going to talk about the current situation of Afghanistan. There will be three different parts for today's session. The first one is a brief history about Afghanistan, and the second will be different stories from me, from my friends, from people I know that were affected by these crises, and the third one will be your turn, like have a dialogue about this topic. So obviously you all know where Afghanistan is located. It is located between Iran, Pakistan, China, and former Soviet Union countries like Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. And speaking of the former Soviet Union, who likes Russia? Can I have any answers from you guys?
I'm sorry, what was the question? Could you repeat it, please?
Yeah. I said, speaking of former Soviet Union, who likes Russia? I guess most of us not like Russia because of the things they're doing right now. So, who likes US?
I'm not sure I side with any of them.
I could not hear you, Bastian Kikad, if I pronounce your name correctly.
Yeah, you did. I'm not sure if I side with any of them.
Okay. So my second question was, who likes America, United States?
All
of you?
I
Well,
don't really, I'm sorry, I don't really like or dislike either Russia or the United States. I dislike both countries' actions because in general they both have like dirty things that they have done, but yeah, in general, like I don't dislike them, but I don't also like them.
That's very wise of you. But most of people, if I ask this from foreigners, they'll say, oh, I like US and I dislike Russia. But according to their answers, most of my people, they do not agree, actually. They do not like America. And can I have any guesses from you guys? Like, why do most of my people don't like US?
I don't know if I could talk.
Yes, sure, go
So
ahead.
I think that they might not quite like the US because of the situation and all like the methods and trouble that they have caused, because for the last 20 years they tried like to end the war and like to fix the situation of what was happening, but they didn't like achieve anything. And when they like retired their troops last year, they caused more trouble, and now that's why the Afghanistan situation has gotten worse.
I'm so happy to hear that. You guys know more than I expected. So you guys are all right. Oh, yeah, I can see there's a hand raised. San Diego?
Santiago. And yeah, don't worry. Also, because there are reports, and well, it actually happened that when the troops left, all of the different weapons that they left for the Afghan army and all of that was like the Taliban's, they just regained it. So basically, it made their arsenal higher, which also brought a lot of trouble and brought them like an advantage when they took over all of Afghanistan. So in general, I feel it's pretty justified for your people to not like America, because I don't also like that either. They should have been at least more organized to prevent for the different arms to fall into the Taliban's hands.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing your opinion. Well, you all are right, but these things are kind of superficial. To study this in depth, we need to take a brief look at my country's history. And Afghanistan is historically one of the oldest lands in the world, with various events, including its people's remarkable achievements throughout its history. There's evidence that urban civilization began in the region between 3000 to 2000 BC. And but Afghanistan as a country itself, it began in 1823, which is not that much old. Unfortunately, it has been one of the war and conflict zones in the Middle East due to the internal problems and foreign intervention for some decades. In general, Western interference in Eastern politics began when the Portuguese chose a new route by the sea to do direct trade with India rather than continuing with the Silk Road. So this happened on 1498, around the same time that they invented America, right? This act brought up negative consequences. One of them was that the impoverishment and bankruptcy of countries along the Silk Road, like Egypt, and also the internal war in the Europe with the Portuguese. It kind of like they were competing to be the commercial center as Venice City once was. And also the third most important negative consequences that this brought up was the Shia-Sunni, the beginning of Shia-Sunni religious wars due to cooperation of Iran with Portuguese. And this continued until British got in power, and they came and started controlling over India during the Mughal dynasty. Because India was known as the world's factory, so everyone wanted to dominate it, right? You could find things in India that you cannot even find them right now today, like black pepper, which was very essential back then for keeping meat, right? And also so many other like medicines that they could find in India. That's why everyone wanted to dominate India, and also therefore, whomever took over India and like the kings of India themselves, they have at least tried to push their military influences at least as far as Kabul. Kabul is my country's capital today. Because no one could attack India. And can you guys guess why? Why they wanted to take over Kabul too? No? Well, the reason is that Afghanistan includes highlands and India includes the lowlands. So it was very dangerous if I was the ruler of India and someone like my enemy tried to attack India from Afghanistan sides. Back then, they didn't have any kind of technology or airplanes, jets and stuff. They even didn't have horses in India because you cannot breed horses in there. They only had elephants and marching. So it was really difficult for them to take care of their country if someone would attack from Afghanistan side. So if they took at least a Kabul, so they could have kind of make a very good like military influence in the whole region, and there would be no one being a threat for India. So we can conclude that Afghanistan, because of its geographical figure, as highlands was the only barrier and threat to Indian rulers. In Afghanistan back then, there was no central government, and Pashtuns in the border from southeast to southeast to southwest were helping any kind of power who could promise them the throne to Afghanistan. So this was another conflict in the country. Therefore, it was easy for foreigners to use the land as they desired. And also, centuries later, after the former Soviet Union was defeated by the groups of rebellions in the country, these groups wanted power for themselves too. So they could not make peace between each other, and another internal war began for almost 30 years. That was when Taliban was made. Taliban was a group of youngsters, actually refugees in Pakistan, who wanted peace in the country, and then they came and they stopped the internal war, but they themselves turned out to be more cruel than any power ever in Afghanistan. So Taliban came and ruled over Afghanistan from 1996 October until October 2001. US came to Afghanistan after 9/11. We all know what is 9/11, right? And they tried to fight against Taliban for more than 20 years, of which we all thought would be the end of all these conflicts in our country. But this was another loss, and we all had to go through another turmoil. So the second part is I'm gonna read you 4 letters, which will include my letter too. They all have different stories after the 15th August last year. And I want you guys to focus carefully and listen to all of this. And then after this, we will have our talk. The first one is mine. It started at 11 a.m. on August 15th, 2021. It started with non-stop gunshots and people running for their lives. At noon, our cell reception, internet, and electricity went down, and for hours, we were all waiting for the moment the Taliban would enter our house to kill us. Around 9 p.m., one of my cousins came to our house and said, "Get ready because we are leaving. There will be 2 cars coming for us soon." We had only 20 minutes. The plan was to get to Spin Boldak, the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, before the sun rises. We needed to cross the border before the Taliban fully took control of the country. My brother and my mom started a fire. My sister and I ran to collect our imported documents, awards, certificates, diplomas, and our pictures and anything that showed our affiliation with the Afghan government in any Western countries, especially the Americans. We needed to burn everything before leaving our house in case we were caught by the Taliban. We had 20 minutes to destroy everything we worked and built in 20 years. Watching my mom burn my documents, awards, certificates, diplomas, our pictures, I felt that my life had come to an end. I felt the fire on my skin and in my heart. I felt my soul was on fire. The last 9 years of my life were all summarized in those documents. I had achieved different awards and attached so many different programs, attended so many different programs. I had kept everything, even the notes and letters received from others. While burning each of them, I remembered all those hard days, good memories, and moments that made me who I am today. I remembered how many days, months, and years I had to work to achieve and build them all. In those 20 minutes, in a blink of an eye, they were vanishing. I was helping my mom to destroy them all. It was hard to achieve them, but it was harder to destroy them. This is the 3rd time my mom experiences homelessness and the 2nd time that her house is burnt on fire. However, we don't know what is our fault. More sadly, this disaster was not just befalling on me. It affected everyone, my beloved ones, family, friends, and my people. I was lucky enough to have the chance to leave the country, but I left my heart for my people and other women who were left behind. We all have died many times to stay alive, have gone through many things that didn't came to anyone's mind. We have been through hunger, sleeplessness, depression, homelessness, and hopelessness. Yet we are now in a state of uncertainty about what the future will hold. Since they took everything from us, our houses, our educations, our jobs, our hopes, now we have to start from zero, which is definitely not easy. Sakina, Saidi, Afghan refugee in Pakistan. This is my family, my siblings, and my mom. A second letter, like a nightmare, the Taliban were everywhere. They had blocked roads to the airport, and we had to walk in darkness for more than 2 hours. We were told to be in front of the Black Gate at 11 p.m. sharp, and the team will get us inside the airport. Looking at my old mother who struggled to walk with us made me feel the worst pain ever. At 10 p.m., we arrived at the gate and waited for 2 hours and no one showed up. God, I wanted to cry so badly looking at my poor family who had no choice but to wait. My brother, who lives in the US, told me that this was the only chance we got and we should not leave the gate until getting inside. We waited until 8 a.m. in the morning and still no one showed up. Suddenly, the gate was opened and Marines came out. Hundreds, if not thousands, of people were rushing to get into the airport. Marines got control of the situation and pushed people back. They were only letting US citizens and green card holders inside. I saw a Marine who was standing close to us. Along with my sister, we reached him and tried to speak to him and explain everything so that he could help us get inside. We showed the documents that we had, but it was not enough. I called my brother and he said, "Wait, I will talk to someone inside and see if he can help." He shared a number and told me to call this number and pass the phone to the Marine. I did what he said, and the Marine was talking to the guy. He cut the phone and said, "Wait here." Those moments were the most crucial moments of our lives, whether getting into the airport or being killed by the Taliban. The guy called me again and I passed the phone to the Marine. He spoke with the guy for 2 minutes. The moment that the Marine told me to bring my family inside was the happiest of my life. I felt like he freed me out of the cage and gave me the wings to fly. He carried us to the airport and left us with a big smile on his face. Mustafa Anwari, Afghan refugee in Indianapolis. The third letter. Afghanistan, as any other Islamic communities, is a dangerous country for a family led by a woman having young daughters and no one for financial support. Despite all these difficulties and harsh realities of the society, I decided to do something and help my mother and siblings who were in Molistan, Ghazni. It's a countryside. After graduating, I got into media work and started working as a dabber in Saw TV. Although I didn't have a good salary, but it was better than nothing. I had my mother and 5 other siblings to take care of, and the money I was earning in the TV was not enough. So I decided to find other part-time jobs and stop studying for a year or so. Besides, I could not go to visit my family for a long time. I then got a part-time job in a cafe. Everything was okay, and we were doing our best for a better future until the Taliban took over Molistan. Taliban took our house and shot some of our relatives. My mother took some pair of clothes for my siblings, nothing else, and came all the way to Kabul with lots of difficulties. We were still hopeful that the government might defeat Taliban, but when they took Kabul, everything was gone once again. From 15th August until now, that is 8th December, it has been more than 3.5 months that we all are imprisoned in my uncle's house and barely go out only for emergency works. Seeing my siblings getting depressed from not being allowed to go to school and the heartbreaking sadness in my mother's eyes from losing beloved ones in her home makes me weaker every day. We have already faced verbal, ethnic, and patriarchal violence while trying to live in our own homeland where my sisters and mother could be safe. Now that Taliban are ruling the country, we are even scared if they get to know our fathers not living with us and there are young daughters in the family. Although my future is uncertain, but my heart is full of hope. I really don't know what will happen next for my family. Therefore, I desperately ask for your help. I need your help not only to be in a safe place with my family, but to continue my pursuit for higher education, for having a meaningful life, to rebuild all I have lost and more. This is my friend and her family. Okay. And the next letter that I'm going to read you guys is a bit kind of sensitive and very different from other letters. And I cannot tell you about her identity. My name is blank, and I'm a dentist. After the Taliban took over Kabul, they banned the schools and limited women by hijab and not allowing them to work or even go outside without a mahram. Although they have punished many people who disobeyed, but no one can agree to their cruel rules, especially after working hard for 20 years. I was one of those girls attending and organizing some protests against Taliban. One day, when I just opened my clinic and wanted to change my clothes, a car stopped in front of the door and four huge and scary men entered the clinic holding guns. I was so scared that I even couldn't shout for help. They arrested me and closed my eyes and my mouth with a black cloth. It was a long ride, and I could hear them saying in Pashto, "What makes siyasar work and study?" Siyasar is a very negative word they use for women, which means something that brings bad luck. What makes siyasar work and study? You, the educated women, have ruined the society. I do not know how men became so weak to give you the right to study and show your face and body to no mahram. When they opened my eyes, I was inside a dark room. There was only an old and dirty mattress, blanket, and a pillow. I was imprisoned by the Taliban for 15 days, without my family knowing. They were beating me when I refused to name other girls who were in the protest, or when I said there is no American person helping us. After 15 days, they took me back to my clinic and told me to call home. They took my fiance's passport since I didn't have any. Taliban take the passport so that they cannot travel or run away from them. Now, putting my fiance's life in danger, I came to Islamabad to treat the injuries, body pain, and my mental health issues. A fugitive from Taliban. Well, Afghanistan, before the Taliban, was not perfect. Afghan women suffered oppression and abuse every day. Some of my female relatives and my classmates suffered sexual or psychological violence and were even forced into marriage. Many of those abusers were their own husbands, fathers, brothers, and even mothers. Religious and ethnic minorities like Hazaras face targeted killing and discrimination every day. Every week, there were multiple bomb blasts and suicide attacks in Kabul and other big cities. On the way to university and work, I saw thousands of internal refugees in the parks every day. Poverty, unemployment, and cost of living were all high. The rich and powerful built mansions for themselves, and the poor did not have food for their children. With all its problems, Afghanistan was still my home. A home with countless holes and no door, but it's still a home that I dreamed of helping to fix one day. It was a place to dream and work for a better future for all Afghans, and suddenly they took it from us. Do you guys have any questions? No? So this is the third part where I give you the chance to talk and speak. You guys are free to talk about anything about Afghan crisis, but I wanted to help you with giving you some statements. First one, Afghanistan's human rights. The second one, Afghanistan's economic crisis. The third one, Afghan refugees. The fourth one, international cooperation about this topic, about this issue. And the fifth one, Ukraine's conflict affecting on Afghan crisis. So you guys can start talking. Thank you for listening. What-
Hello,
Hi, Angel.
it's a pleasure. I have a question for you, and I've been looking about all of happening in Afghanistan, and I know that right now all like all Afghanistan is being in the worst crisis ever due to the Taliban. But I want to know if in the country things are still working or how is education, because I really like think about all the childrens and if they're still going to schools, if they're affected by this obviously, but how are they managing teachers and adults, how are they living through this?
Yes, thank you for asking. Well, to start with, every night that we sleep, more than 2 million children are sleeping with empty stomachs. This is a huge crisis, and this has never happened in Afghanistan before. Also, people don't have works, they have lost everything. There are some, like those who worked in the government, now they're working as a shopkeeper or like as a worker, as a simple worker. And also about schools, boys can go to school, but they're being targeting, like they're being killed. There are bomb loss still happening in schools and in educational centers, especially in Hazara community. And about girls, they can only go to school until sixth grade, and the rest are still banned from going to school. They're just making excuses of, I don't know, we haven't decided what clothes you should wear, like stuff like that. And also, a week ago, girls could go to university, but they didn't had any like choice of which subjects they can study. They could only study like Islamic things, and also they had to take someone with them to university as a mahram, like a guide to be with them. And a week ago, they just stopped girls going to university, saying that you're wearing colorful scarves. You should wear all black from head to toe. And your skin shouldn't be, like no one should see your skin. There are like so crazy things going on. And yeah, this was, I guess, the answers. Go ahead, Santiago.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for today's global talk. It was
Yes.
really interesting and heartbreaking, honestly. I really feel bad for all of you, and I hope that God helps you to be better and that God helps your country. Also, in general, if you feel comfortable telling us, how has your life been as a refugee? Like, how is it a normal day for you as a refugee on Pakistan?
Thank you for asking. As a refugee, right now we have visas, but when we came, we didn't have any visa or any documents. We were undocumented refugees here, and it was really difficult. We could not contact anyone, and if they found out that we were undocumented, they could have arrested us and sent us back to Afghanistan. So we stayed hidden for almost 3 months. And then there was a guy who we paid him lots of money to give us visas. And finally, we have medical visas, but still it's going to be like the time is going to finish. And so a normal day here in Pakistan is that we go out only once a day and we buy everything for the whole 24 hours, like bread, everything that we need. And if there's any cases of emergency, it is really difficult. Thankfully, we know a Pakistani family here who is helping us with those things. Like my brother was shot in his leg by the Taliban, and he needed medical helps. So when we came here, that family helped us take him to the hospital using their card. And it is really difficult for us here. And also UNHCR, they are not helping refugees. They have closed the doors and to the refugees and not answering anything. We first went to Quetta, which is Balochistan, and there we were living in the mosque, and people were bringing food for us. And then after a month, we came to Islamabad here, and now it's pretty much okay. We have contact with my elder sister who is living in the US, and she's helping us with the financial thing and also that Pakistani family that I say. Felicitas, if I pronounce your
Hello.
name correctly.
Yes, it's okay. My question was, what's your opinion or general opinions about the Ukraine war? Because nowadays these wars are two ongoing wars, and it seems like the international community is paying more attention to the war in Ukraine, and everybody seems to be donating, helping, and sending aid to Ukraine. But it's like kind of, if this war is a bit more forgotten, like what do people feel like?
Thank you. Well, war is a bad thing. It brings bad things rather than good things, even if you fight for peace, right? I don't even want to fight with Taliban right now because people will die, women will be raped, kids will die. War is all bad. I wish there would be any other options than fighting with each other, right? And about the war in Ukraine, when I heard about it, it was heartbroken. It really is still. My family, my people, we know how it feels like, right? To have freedom, to have a little bit peace, and then someone come and take it from you for their own good. And but during this journalist who covered the war going on in Ukraine, they used some saying that they are our own, having blonde hair with white color and blue eyes. This kind of hurt. It's okay that we don't have blonde hairs and we are not looking alike to you, but still we are human. And also that the war that is going on in our region, not only in Afghanistan, but also in Iraq and Israel and those places, They are all because of the foreign intervention. And saying such thing is it is like violating our human rights. So, but about the people of Ukraine, we are really worried about them, and we hope the war don't last much, and that they can still go back to their houses and have their lives back. But about these discriminations, it is heartbreaking too. Anna?
Hi, yeah. I just wanted to ask you, like, from your point of view, which kind of actions should be taken by the Afghan government and the international community to kind of improve and help the situation in the country?
Well, there are different aspects to cover in Afghanistan today. It's not only the Taliban inside the country who people worries about. It's about the refugees outside the country. It's about so many other things like the international cooperation. If they do really care about our people, things we want. I mean, my people want is they should help the refugees. At least they should say if we want to accept you as our own or not, because things are uncertain. It is going to be almost a year that we don't know if US will accept us or not. And we are still hopeful for that. And if you cannot help, just say we cannot help, so we can find any other option, right? And also, the other thing that my people want is the economical crisis that is going on. The rates of everything is so high. The bread that we used to buy for 10 rupee, 10 Afghanis, is now 20 Afghanis. Everything has doubled in price. People cannot afford lots of things, and we have heard that 2 families in our neighborhood, they all died because of hunger overnight. And the other thing that my people want is their support and understanding with Afghan women. This is really important. If they don't, I mean the Taliban, if they don't accept women as human, it is like a huge crisis. Women is making half of the community, right? The society. If you remove them, like the whole society will be like incomplete, and it will be a disaster. And still, there are women who are still protesting. And there are women who are still talking against Taliban, showing the harsh reality that they have done to them. But I don't know, the world is so quiet and they do not respond to any of their like asking for help and stuff like that. Mika?
Yeah, hi. I just want to ask, like, Taliban's in press or media, how do they what do they say to people? What are their statements to people? What do they really say? Because, for example, we might have one point of view, but I would like to know if have the Taliban stated regarding this situation as a general.
Yes. So if you go and see the news, they're kind of trying to show themselves that they have changed, that they are not the Taliban who were back in 20 years ago, but they're still the same. They're just trying to show the world until that they can accept their government. They were saying that we are okay with women going to school, going to work, but it didn't last for months. I mean, 2 months later, they said, no, girls should not go to school. We don't like that. Or women, we should not see them in outside without any mahram or wearing colorful dresses or the dresses that they liked. And also they went house to houses trying to find people, trying to see what do they have in their houses. And if they have guns, they collected everything. And now the people are, if there's a war, if a war begins, people cannot protect themselves because they don't have anything with them right now as they used to do. And in the news, they don't cover these things. They only cover like, I don't know, there are so crazy and how do I say, they're not that important issues that they're talking on the news. They're kind of refusing showing what is going on in Afghanistan. They're kind of like, those news are not true and they are not supposed to be on the television. And I myself try to avoid the news from the Taliban because they're all what they want us to they want us to see, right? Those are not real. But things that there are two, I guess, yes, there are two newspapers that are still working, and they are saying that the real news is that's happening, like how many women were arrested by the Taliban, how many were killed, why they do not let girls go to school, or maybe how many bomb blasts are happening in Kabul still. Those things, but the Taliban themselves, that they have took over so many media.
You want me to put it on the TV?
They do not show the reality. Santiago?
Yeah, I have two more questions actually.
Okay.
First of all, has there been any form of racism, not only with the refugees, but with the Taliban's under? Because, for example, with Ukraine, there have been reports that they're only letting white people get out of the country and that black people aren't being let to exit to, for example, Poland. So how has the situation been in Afghanistan?
Okay. And the second question?
And the second one was about the international news coverage about this issue. Well, first of all, I think that in general, it might sound a little harsh, but the world, I don't think they really get that informed about the Middle East, and it's very sad because it seems like they do not care about all of the horrible things and wars that are happening in there. So I think more awareness should be done. But what do you think of especially the American news sites or like CNN or Fox? Do you think they're covering enough the topic, or have they covered it well? Are they spreading fake news, or what do you think about it?
Yeah, thank you. So for answering your first question, of course there is racism in countries, especially things that Taliban are doing. There are, as I said before, minorities, religious and ethnic minorities. Religious minorities is the Shia community, and the ethnic minorities are like Hazaras, those who are less populated than Pashtuns, like Tajiks, Hazaras, Uzbeks, these people. And the thing is that Hazaras are more being targeted because they're also Shia and also Hazara. And these people, they are just trying to study, work hard. They don't have any hands in wars and stuff. They are truly targeting those because they don't want educated people in the country, because if you're educated, you know how to defeat people like Taliban. And they are against it all. They say they are against actually all education because they say it is a Western thing. It's something that US and England brought up in our country. So they're being racist. They say that when we come to Afghanistan, there will be no bomb blasts, no killings, nothing. But still, there are bomb blasts. They are targeting people in a school. kids in school in courses like English courses and mathematical courses and stuff like that. And about your second question, thankfully, CNN, New York Times, these social medias, these social medias, they have covered well. I mean, they have said the truth, but they have not covered everything. There's still things going on, but it was kind of for some time, but now it's not that much. Like they don't talk about Afghanistan that much. It's like our people are worried that we are being forgetted by the world. And it is because of that, because most of the medias, they are not covering the conflicts today too. But yeah, we really need the world to hear what the people want, what is the problem, and maybe they could find a way for us. That's it. Angelica?
Okay, hello again.
Hi.
I have two questions. Number one, in my case, I have been investigating about Afghanistan because it's like my topic, and my topic was digital privacy. And investigating about that, I found out that, as you said, it's really difficult to find information that is true because a lot of websites tell you different information and they're not like certified. And I found out something really like interesting, that your constitution, Afghanistan's constitution, hasn't been renovated since 2004. So do you think if someone have the idea of renovated, or someone add some laws, do you think it will be different right now? Or something can change, a law can be like more powerful? And the second one is that I identified all of you as really, really strong women. But I know that not just telling you that I'm not helping at all. So how can we around the world help you? Like, do you think if a organization come together, they can do something for you? Or we like children's, young people, and how can we help?
Thank you for asking. To answer your first question, you asked about the digital privacy. I myself studying at American University of Afghanistan. It is the top university because it was from, like, we had teachers from United States, international teachers, and everything was really good there. So when the Taliban took over, they took all the data and they have all the information about who worked there, who were the professors, and who are the students. This is an example. There are lots of things like the governmental data and so much more. And after they took the data, there were unknown calls for everyone from the Taliban asking, where are you? Where's your family? And sending lots of harsh messages that if we caught you, we will kill you. Still, there are these harassments going on with my classmates who are still in Afghanistan. And also, they could recognize 5 students who they killed in Kabul. And so they have lots of data. And this is only a small example of it. Now, to think about that they have the data of the government, everyone who worked there, who helped with Western countries build Afghanistan. This is like mind-blowing. What will they do with those data? And also because Pakistan is kind of helping Taliban. We all know that Pakistan is really good at these things, like the data and finding people and all of these things. People are so worried about that too. If those data in the hands of Pakistan government. And to answer the second question, that what you guys can do or what the world can do, I really don't know the answer, because everything that comes to our minds and we think that this might be a true thing, it will not. The world, like the UN, they tried to send help for people in Afghanistan. They did, but the Taliban, they just distributed all the helps among themselves. None of them were given to a poor family who were dying of hunger or those who were injured. None of them. Taliban took everything and distributed it among their families and among their soldiers. And if you think of, I don't know, making a deal with the Taliban, maybe it will work for a month, for 2 months, but it will not last more than that, as we already saw it, witnessed it. And the last thing that remains is war. Again, sending troops to Afghanistan to kill the Taliban, to take over Kabul and build it again. It will be the same story, but it will be more difficult than the past. I really don't know what the world can do. I really cannot answer that question. Felicitas?
Yes. Well, my question, I have two questions. The first one regards technology. I know that, for example, in Russia, there are a lot of sites that are blocked and that people cannot go on the internet to certain sites or have certain apps. Does this same thing happens there? And also, can women that are forbidden education, can they like attend to, for example, school or universities online? And my second question is about your opinion. I want to hear if you think that this conflict is going to be resolved soon. How positive are you about it? And also, if is there now any kind of protest or maybe a new Malala that is fighting publicly for these things, or that just doesn't happen now?
Okay, thank you. The first answer about the technology and the online classes. Well, they're not websites that people cannot have access to them. I mean, they use VPN. This is something really like people know what it is and they are using, but there are not like certain websites that you cannot have access to. But in social media, if you talk against Taliban, they can block your account. I don't know how, but they have access to control social media in Afghanistan. Although we thought that they are illiterates, they might not know about social media or even how to use guns, but they have this things like they are covering medias and seeing who are talking against them, and that is really how they can find people from their houses, from like the letter that I read for you from their clinics. They have access to the things to block people from social media, especially from Facebook. And about online classes, well, there are I've seen some different programs that they made. I mean, the students, people my age, or those who are refugees in other countries, they know, like they have find access to things there. They have started programs like that, trying to teach girls online, to provide them online educational facilities. But in Afghanistan, due to electricity problem and due to internet problem, it cannot be a real thing to solve the problem. So it cannot help much, but yes, it is good for some people, but most people, they don't have access to internet and to electricity, so that's not a good solution yet. And to answer your second question, could you pardon that again, please?
Yeah, sure. If there are people that are like publicly protesting against Taliban's, or if there is any public figure, like for example, in some time ago was Malala who fought against Taliban, and basically that if there is somebody that's like an icon now, or if there are protests against Taliban's.
Yes. So yeah, there are several women who lots of us know them because they were protesting against Taliban. Two of them are killed while the Taliban arrested them and imprisoned them. They were beaten so much that they couldn't last. And the three other, one of them is, she was a journalist and she's out of the country, but she's still covering all the newses. She got the award some weeks ago. I really can't remember her name, but maybe I can share you guys later. And also the other people, there are two other women who are still in Afghanistan because the Taliban, they took their passports and they cannot flee to other country, or they cannot continue their protest because they will be killed this time if they were caught protesting against Taliban. But people know about them and they are doing protests like from home, kind of not directly, but indirectly. They're still active. Yes, there are 5, I guess, or more. But I know 5 of them, yeah. Anna?
Okay, I also have 2 questions. And the first one is like, well, as you mentioned, a lot of women are trying like to protest for their rights and everything, but they're like beaten or they're killed for that. So do you think that there is like a method that someone could use, or I don't know, something that someone could do for the Taliban to change like their perspective or their opinion towards women?
Okay.
And the second question, well, I don't know if you want to answer it first. And
no, it's all right. You can ask the second question.
okay, so the second question is related to the U.S. So as the U.S. Retired their troops in 2021, and they have seen like how the situation.
I think we lost Anna. Okay, I will answer her first question. Maybe until then she can come back.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think my internet connection was unstable.
Okay, so you are continuing with your second question.
Okay, so my second question was a
Okay. I'll answer her questions once she's back. I will take a question from Matthew. Matthew, are you there?
Yes, hello. So sorry for the late response. First off, thank you so much for giving this talk. It was really really good, really meaningful. So thank you so much for sharing. And my question is, I just wanted to know, do you think that the Taliban should be viewed as a legitimate government, like by other nations?
Mhm. Okay. And second question?
Oh, I only have one question.
Okay, okay, good. Because everyone asked me two questions, I was expecting
Yeah.
another one. To answer your question, well, I can say yes and I can say no due to different reasons. I say a yes because if Taliban are, if they are known as a legitimate government, they will have the supports of UN as a country, and most people, it will be a good benefit, like for most of the people who are in a really bad situation. But I also say a no, because if they're known as a legitimate government, they will remove women from from the society, and this is a very this is a huge disaster if it happens. So I led this to United Nations. What will they do, and what will they decide? Anna is not back yet. I don't think so. Clara?
Yes. Firstly, what I wanted to say is that basically, as the other said, thank you for sharing your stories. And I can't believe why these situations still continue happening in the 21st century. And it's very heartbreaking and painful to hear what you told. And like, I cannot imagine how hard it is and the grief of having experienced those situations firsthand. So what I wanted to ask is what the future looks like for you.
I can hear news from people around me, those who we are connected back to home, people who are still there, and some of them who are in the rebellion group in Panjshir, who is still fighting against Taliban. They say that people, they had enough of this. They want war. They want to fight with the Taliban and take them out of the country. It might have good results, but as I said, even war for peace is not good. It still brings bad things. Every time I hear this, the only thing that I can think of is the women, is the children, that they will go through hunger, they will go through more than this conflicts. And the women, it's not only about like losing their beloved ones, their husbands, their children. It is also that if, it has happened a lot. In a war, women are being raped, they're being tortured, they're being killed. And I don't really see a good future to this. I really wish, not only me, all of my people, we really wished US wouldn't leave the country. When they came, they should have stayed at least more, or as Santiago said, they should have good plans for like leaving the country, not just like that, leaving it to the Taliban with all those facilities that they have left behind. They should have at least make sure that people could protect themselves against Taliban. And the future that I see, I really can't see any future for the moment. I can't think what will happen because everything right now is so messy and you cannot prevent it. Anything can happen. Clara? Okay. Santiago?
Yeah, I have 3 questions. Well, I'd say 2 and one less serious question, but before that, I want to comment on what you said. Like, precisely, well, I think the best would have been for the US to stay because still, like they had to protect the people. It's for protecting you. But in general, we all know how both the US and Russia and all of the world powers are, and they just do that because of economical or political interests, and they mostly did it because Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden attacked them on 9/11, and they just
Yes.
came there like to take revenge on the Talibans, not to like actually help you, which is very sad, honestly. Now with my 3 questions, well, first of all, I would like to ask you on a topic that I've heard a little bit on, and it's about the Bachivas, which, if I'm not wrong, they're children that the Taliban take and they make them like dance or something. I don't know. So how bad is the situation with that? The second one would be about like getting out of the conflict, more on the Ukraine conflict. What is your personal opinion on the US giving them weapons to fight with? Do you think that maybe they could potentially end on the hands of Russia or another enemy, even like for example the Sov battalion, which even if sometimes they are said to be heroes, they're not, and they're very white supremacists and all of that, and they're honestly very bad people. So do you think that something close to what happened with the Taliban on Afghanistan could occur now in Ukraine? And at the end, this is more like a relaxed question. I don't think there's people that crazy like this, but is tourism still open on Afghanistan, or how is it working? Because something that I've thought, I don't think people actually want to go there, but like how are the Taliban and the new government handling tourism?
Sorry, I could not catch your third question.
Yeah, the third question was about tourism right now on Afghanistan. I don't think there's actually people who want to go there and risk their lives, but there might be a crazy person, and I've always felt intrigued since the start of the conflict on if there's still tourism on Afghanistan and how's it working.
Okay. Well, thank you for your questions. The first question, that is true. Taliban, even before taking over the whole country, when they only had dominated like 2 to 3 provinces of the country, they were forcing people to give their child as like small boys taken from, I guess it was 9 somehow, until like teenager boys, to take them to make them their soldiers and put them in the first line of the war wherever they would go. It happened, and lots of kids were killed like that. And right now they still do that, but this is more dangerous than the previous one because they are kind of washing their minds, changing their thoughts about everything, about Taliban, about everything, even about their families. There are lots of documentaries about this that you can go and watch them and see what is really going on. They didn't start this right now, but this was like from long ago. But right now they are forcing people to send their children. Back then they could not force people; they would just take the children of their own families, right? And also, yeah, that was right. The thing you heard, that is absolutely correct. And the second one, my opinion about Ukraine's war. I haven't thought about this, that US might help them with weapons, but if they do, the war will continue. And the thing about me, like my thought about war and conflicts like this is just that we need a miracle to just stop the war right there and no more fightings and killings and taking people's life. I'm not okay with US giving weapons to Ukrainians and also Russia doing more of this. Yes, that is like my personal idea about this. And the third question you asked about tourism. Well, this is a very weird thing that before the Taliban, when you wanted to travel by car from this province to other province, like we went from Kabul to Herat for meeting my aunts and relatives there multiple times, and there were thieves on the way. The way were not safe. There were Taliban taking people, killing them. But now that they have taken over the country, all the ways are really safe. You can go anywhere with your car, but you shouldn't be against Taliban though. You should not. They should not find out that you're doing something against Taliban or that you might have someone outside the country working with the Westerns. But yeah, like you can see, like most of the people nowadays, they are traveling to different places. Afghanistan is a really diverse country. Each province has its own beauty and its own things that the tourists can go and visit there. So most of the people who have who can go and who have money to spend on these things, yes, they can go. That is one positive thing you can think of it. Felicitas?
Yes. Well, my question, I have only one, and it is, do you think the United States is completely to blame for the war, like 100%? And also, if it ends, do you think that it should pay reparations or like be made responsible for what happened, like internationally, maybe like with a United Nations treaty or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Well, US is not to blame 100% for sure. When a war happens, it is not only one side to blame. Both of them are to be blamed, right? But as my people think, most of the most percentage to blame is the US, yes, because they started this war and they didn't end it well as they had to be. And I think that was the answer. Genesis?
Yes, hello. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing your stories, your testimonies, and for bringing more awareness to this topic. And I don't know if someone already asked this because I had to look out for a little bit, but I'm here now. But my question is, what measures does any organization needs to take to remove the Taliban from their position of power?
Sorry, can you pardon again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My question is, what measures does any organization needs to take to remove the Taliban from their position of power?
Well, this is a very difficult question that I might not be able to answer, but what I think about it is that there is not really a way of that organizations can remove Taliban because they already have the country and only a war can remove them. Yes.
Just a war, you said.
I know, I said that the war is bad, but that is the only thing we can.
Yeah, I understand. Just I didn't hear you that well, so I ask you again. But yeah, you're right.
Thank you. Las? Sorry for my pronunciation, guys.
It's okay. Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you, of course, for coming to give us your testimony as others already did. I think it's very important. But I wanted to know, what do you think is the key to end this conflict? Like, what should be done? Or maybe, do you think there are even any hopes for a fair solution, like where both sides are satisfied? Or one will have to fully give the other one what it wants?
Well, there are, if we want to cover the emergencies, we need to help Taliban. Like, there are lots of things going on, and they are emergency things to be covered. I mean, that we should solve, and the only way to that would be to help Taliban. But to solve all these conflicts from the roots, we need to remove Taliban from the earth. You know what I'm saying? That would be the only thing, and I don't really know what would be any other option rather than war. Maybe, I don't know, maybe because of a good future for our children, for the next generation, we need to make some bad choices, I guess, of doing wars. Or I don't really know. I'm really sorry that I cannot answer this, because we have been through a lot, seeing wars, seeing people being killed, our beloved ones, seeing women, that what they are going through right now. I really can't say anything. It's like my people is the same. They would just say, we want a war, or they would just say, we are just waiting for UN to decide what will happen for our future or for our lives. Any further question? Do you have Anna with us? I don't think so.
I think Anna has gone from the room.
Oh, I see. I guess this was it. I mean, no more questions, no more thoughts. Oh, there's Anna. Hi, Anna.
Hi, yeah, thank you. My question was, do you know if there is any kind of interest by the of the Taliban, that, I mean, any aspect that the Taliban would be interested on negotiating with?
Well, they are like, they don't have any other choice rather than negotiating with UN or with the world to be known as legitimate government. That is the only way they can truly have the power of the country. So the negotiation, yes, thank you for bringing that up. The negotiation would be a really better way than a war. But I wish we could just remove Taliban from it. Santiago?
Yeah, just one last question. How does your people, the Afghans, see the legitimate Afghan government, who, if I'm not wrong, just fled when the situation started, as well as the United States? And also, what do they think about both the Biden administration and the Trump administration? Because if I'm not wrong, just to add on, I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but I believe that Trump, while he was leaving, he had a complete plan of each step that should have been taken, and Biden just decided to skip all of those steps and make everybody leave in a very disorganized way. So what what do they think about both governments?
Yes. So you asked about Ashraf Ghani, our previous president who fled and ran away from Taliban. Well, everybody hates him. He's a traitor and he just ran away without, he knew that the Taliban are coming and he helped the Taliban. There are lots of stories from soldiers, from troops, that they said we were on our duty working, defeating against Taliban, but our like there were calls coming from the government saying you should leave your place, you should not fight because they will kill you. I don't know, their soldiers are more than you, you cannot defeat. And when they would leave their duties and the place that they were in, they would see that there are like only 10 Taliban coming with motorbikes, not having that much of facilities of like guns and stuff like that. Even two people, like two soldiers from the government could kill them all. But they had received this calls that you should leave your duty and you should run away for your lives. This is what another huge topic and hot topic these days. People talk about it, and they all say that this is what Ashraf Ghani did. They say that they sold the country to the Taliban, and he left with lots of money in his helicopter. And about the rest of your question, who my people like the most, Trump or Biden? Well, when Trump was the president, people were kind of worried because Trump was against refugees. He was like, we don't accept refugees, we don't want any refugee in the United States. But about facing and defeating Taliban, he really did some of good works in the country. But when there was when people were trying to choose the new president, when they vote for Biden, they were so hopeful that it would be a very good opportunity for Afghans. Like my sister is in the United States. She and her husband, they happily voted for Joe Biden. But after this thing happened, everyone was like shocked. They didn't expect this to come. And people, they don't like Biden now.
Yeah, thank you very much for all of your answers. And I really hope that this situation with the Taliban gets better and that by just a miracle, there can be a negotiation or something.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you guys for your time and listening. Any more things to say?
So guys, I believe this would be the time to really thank Sakina for all of her answers, for all of her information and her firsthand experience on what's happening in Afghanistan. This is definitely a crisis that we should not forget about. I mean, we as a conference, there's a reason why we selected for the Security Council the Afghan crisis. We believe a lot this is a situation that's literally cataloged as the biggest humanitarian crisis ever. And it's definitely something the world must not forget about. There's loads of wrongs going around. Nonetheless, we should try to right them as better as possible, one by one, without forgetting about everyone. So thank you guys so much for your attention, for your questions. Sakina, thank you from behalf of the whole organization. It was great to have you today. I don't know if there's any last remarks you'd like to do.
Yes. Thank you all for your time and for having me today. I really tried my best, although I had my my semester's final tests. And then I had to collect all these informations and letters for you guys. I hope it was helpful for you and that you could have a thing in your mind about my country. And also the last thing that I wanted to say is you guys, as the future of United States, one of the world's power, everyone in the future will look at you. Millions of people will look at you and wait for your decision that what will you decide for their lives. So please become, become good people in the future and decide good things for the people. Do not ruin anyone's lives from the third world countries. And I'm really thankful of how much thoughtful you guys are, how much information you already had, and best of luck with the rest of your lives. And I hope this was a good moment. It was really a good day and good time talking to you guys. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Sakina. So, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our event for today. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow with our next event on digital privacy. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.